close to you in a long way. What's the long way? The long way is the hisbeinus. And then what's the uktzara? What's the short way? The remembering of the Mesiras Nefesh, the giving himself away to the Eibishter. Be'ezras Hashem Yisborach. So since we are blessed that we are a chelik of we are in the Der Hashvi of the Nesias of the Rebbe, it's very important to stress that this is what the Alter Rebbe has written to begin with. In the Tanya ends the Pnimi, the Chitzenius and the Pnimius, and the Rebbe stresses this how just like as it is in Shabbos, the Shabbos has the Chitzenius, which is, for instance, like you can't work, and the Pnimius is to daven. In the same way, it's connected very much to the beginning, which is the Chitzenius is the Derech Harucha, and the Ktsara is the Mesiras Nefesh, which is the inner part. And what's important to stress is that the Rebbe has connected the Derech Harucha and the Ktsara, meaning to say that if once we're zeichet to learn the Rebbe's sichas, and especially the Maimorim, you see how the main stress that the Rebbe is having is on the Ktsara, on the remembering the Mesiras Nefesh, and the Rebbe builds on it in the Derech Harucha, how to bring out the Ktsara, how to bring out that Nekud of Mesiras Nefesh. So it almost sounds that the Alter Rebbe has brought the Derech Harucha and Ktsara, which is Chassidus Chabad, explaining and remembering of the Mesiras Nefesh, and the Rebbe is Megala that Mesiras Nefesh, that the Nekud of Chassidus, the Pnimius of Chassidus, which is the Yechida. This is especially stressed in the Rebbe's Nesias and in the Rebbe's Der Ashri and the Rebbe's Torah. So as we are Farbrengen it to Kislev, this is again a time for us to stress again the limud of the Rebbe's Torah and the Rebbe's Maimorim, and reflecting on it and giving themselves away, because as the Rebbe demands the Mesiras Nefesh, it is expected from us to have that Mesira Nesina, that Mesiras Nefesh, as we learn the Rebbe's Torah, so we can be a hachona, a kli, that what the Rebbe is trying to communicate to us, that we can actually accept this and be part of it and incorporate it in part of our lives. So allow me to say, L'chaim, L'shona Teva, Belimud Chassidus, especially the Rebbe's Torah and Darkei Chassidus, which is preparing ourselves how to learn the Rebbe's Torah and bring this into our lives. L'chaim, L'chaim V'livorcha. I'd like to introduce the next speaker, the next Farbrenger.
L'chaim, thank you very much. There's some connection issues. I want to mention that the Farbrengen is also streaming live on YouTube. You go to youtube.com/Rabbi Levi Nutik. You could get on without any passwords or so on. I'd like to ask the Rav, Rabbi Hertz, to please address us in honor of Yutas Kislev, if the connection is indeed working now.
Good Yom Tov.
Hi.
Right now we're all props. Good Yom Tov. Yom Tov. We should take in, say this Yom Tov is a Hisham the Chassidus, and it's Erva Chayes Nafsheno. I just want to share one nakuda which I heard today for Farbrengen Shabbos. I'll share this one point. The point is as follows. There was once someone in the city of a Rav in Yerushalayim, and this Rav came to Rebbe in Yechidus. And he asked the Rebbe, he came with a petition. What was his petition? He wanted to go and have a signature that they should not have cars driven on Yerushalayim. So basically, he started the Yechidus and started asking the Rebbe for a signature, and the Rebbe ignored this thing. And as he's talking to the Rebbe for 2-3 minutes, the Rebbe asked him what he's learning, etc. Like a par minute, he finally, after a few minutes, he finally realized the Rebbe is not responding to his request. So he told the Rebbe, I have a bottom line question. It's an important thing. We want to make sure the cars don't drive in Yerushalayim. Are you planning to sign this? And the Rebbe smiled, and the smile means I'm not signing this. And the Rebbe said as follows. I'll say in Yiddish. He said, von Kindsweins on, from child age, I got myself used to that I don't deal with the negative. This is for others. I deal with the positive. What the Rebbe was saying was that from the child age, I got used to that I basically only deal with positive stuff, and the others can deal with negative. You think about it, the Rebbe taught us one thing, which is about the Rebbe and about all of us. You know, we're now in a time, every kufa, Kislev is not the same this year like last year. And it's definitely, to explain the difference, I can give 20 reasons why explain the difference. But it's not about that. It's more about how do we approach it as Kislev. And the approach to Kislev is as follows, that our job is to give light, to give life. There's plenty of others who can create rules and regulations. There's probably enough out there who can create that. That's not our job. Our job is life and to give earth in the world. Because we approach it as Kislev. And this year, Hanukkah, which even though in some ways people say there's restrictions, there's not really restrictions. Because our job is to mayor the world and bring the world a Pesach Or Mechutz. So as we stand in the day of Chassidus, I want to just mention again, as I said before, there's a burst in the world of Pasha Chassidus. People are desperate and dying to learn Chassidus. And by us, it's maybe the best kept secret. That this is Pasha the life and our sustenance, and like fish in the water, we have to learn Chassidus. So our job is to add light, to add life, and to bring So it's a good time now, in such a tkufa now, to create new achlatas and new resolutions and learning Chassidus, new achlatas and bringing light in the world, and can make the world, which is our achrayas and our shlichus, and the Eibusha should bring the final in our world, in our life, till the Eirish Mashiach, the Rebbe together. L'chaim, l'chaim. Thank you, Rabbi Levi Natik, for putting this Farbrengen together. As every year, we're missing out on the big Suda, which was always with catered, with waiters and weeks of work. But I'm sure that the Farbrengen has the same energy, and Eibusha should give a bracha to the Rabbi Natik, should have brachas ad b'lidai in the shlichus, and the community should only grow in Allen Yon and Ton, the Kalpan of the Rebbe. Good Yontiv l'chaim.
Amen. L'chaim, l'chaim. Good Yontiv. This past week, we lost a very special individual, Mrs. Reitza Kasavsky, Allah Shalom, who was the president of FREE for many, many years, well over 40 years, and really pioneered the work with the Russian Yidden in Chicago. And there's a lot to say and how much she's done and how many thousands and thousands of lives she's impacted. And the paydays and paydays are enormous. And I want to say l'chaim for her work that should continue. This was the Rebbe's work. And a l'chaim for the family that should have only simchas and know of good things. L'chaim, l'chaim. We're now going to turn to Rabbi Yosef Cohen, Mashpia Yeshivas Erliyahu Lubavitch from Sifta of Chicago, who's going to lead the Farbrengen. And there's no end time to this Farbrengen. So gather together, get a L'chaim, get Farbeisen, and use this special opportunity to get involved in the Farbrengen from the comfort of your own home. L'chaim, and it should be Isvadiyus Pi'ilais. L'chaim. Rabbi Cohen.
That's also something. And here, maybe you need to plug the mic in or unplug it and just talk to the computer's mic.
All the background keep the I'm glad. Bruce Arrow is not happy with it's connected.
Still can't hear.
Unless he's looking at the music. Shut up. Who's
Still can't hear.
talking?
Okay, so everyone has to mute.
The difference is
Speaker. Okay, that works. That works, yeah?
the difference is
all of a sudden. And the smell comes out. In other words, mitzad, the wine of Pnimius HaTorah, it wouldn't be able to reach every single person. Because not every single person is on a level is really able to take the wine of Pnimius HaTorah. But Dafke mitzad rosin dir rosin. Dafke, that Rebbe took the oil of Pnimius HaTorah and he poured it out. That came out in a way that's able to reach every single person. Every single person could take it in. It should affect them. L'chaim, l'chaim. This is the beginning of Shir Hashirim, the first two psukim. The first pasuk is Shir Hashirim Asher L'Shloimeh Yishakeinim in Shikis Pil Ki Tovim Deidecha Miyoyin. Ki Tovim Deidecha Miyoyin means your Av. Ki Tovim Deidecha Miyoyin. There's the Avas Hashem, the Ave between Yidden and the Eibishter, that comes from Yayin, it comes from wine. The wine brings out the Ave, the Yayin of Torah, the Yayin of Primis HaTorah, the wine brings out the Ave between Eibishter and Yidden. Then the pasuk continues. L'reyach shmonecha tovim, there's the smell of your good oils. Shem and turak shmecha, you empty out the oil of your name. Al kein alomis ha'evucha. Therefore, the alomos, the nairos, they love you. The Rebbe explains in the Torah, what's the even alma? Alma means that she's closed up, that the Ava is closed up. He can't, the person's in the madrege, that he can't bring out this Ava that he has to the Eibishter. We know every Yid has an Ava Mesoteres. No matter what, every Yid has that Ava in him. But you can't bring it out. So, l'reach shmonecha tevim, you have the smell of this oil, Shem and Turak Shmecha, you empty out the oil, Al Kena Alomis Ha'evucha, this is able to be pale. Even what the Yayin can't be pale, the Reich of the Shem could be pale. This is one of the Inyan of Yutas Kislev. Before Yutas Kislev, it wasn't shaykh that every single person should be able to learn and understand the emes, Pnimius HaTorah. Not everyone could. You had to be on a certain dargah. The Rebbe poured out the oil, poured out the rosin, the eraisa, and this made it possible that every single person, no matter what his level is able to learn and understand Pnimius HaTorah. And this brings out this kasha by every single Yid between him and the Eibishter, the Ava. Yutis Kislev is also the Hilula of the Mezikshir Magid, the Rebbe of the Alter Rebbe. We know that Yutis Kislev, the day that the Mezikshir Magid was nostalgic, he took the hand of the Alter Rebbe and he said, today is our Hilula. He was referring that it was the passing of the Stalkos of the Mezikshir Magid, and later Yutis Kislev, the day the Alter Rebbe went out of prison. I'll tell you a story of Mezikshir Magid. This is a story of Mezikshir Magid with his son, Rabbi Avram the Malach. Avram the Malach was the son of Mezikshir Magid. It was a very, very heilig Yid. There's also a shaykhis, special shaykhis to Yutas Kislev, because when the Alter Rebbe came to the Mezikshir Magid, he set up a chavrusa between the Alter Rebbe and Avram the Malach. Avram the Malach learned with the Alter Rebbe the Nister the Torah, the hidden part of Torah, and the Alter Rebbe learned from the Malach Nigel the Torah. It was the Chavrusa, went on for a lot of stories in this Chavrusa. This is a story that took place when Rabbi Avram the Malach was still a little kid, the little Ingela, and he played with his friend. He played hide and seek. Hide and seek. How does hide and seek go? One guy hides, and the other guy tries to find him, and the other guy hides, the other guy tries to find him. So Avram the Malach was playing with his friend hide and seek. In the middle of the game, he comes crying to Mezitcher Magid. What is? He's hiding for a long time until he realizes that the friend he's playing with is not even looking for him. He abandoned him. He's crying, he's hiding, and no one's looking for him. So the Mezitcher Magid said to his son, I don't remember the Lashon, the exact Lashon, but the Teichon was, the Eibishter is hiding in this world, and he wants us to look for him. Are we looking for him? In other words, the Eibishter is here. The Eibishter put himself, the Eibishter is hiding, and he wants us to search. He wants us to bring out the special connection, the ave that there is between Knesset Yisrael, between Yidden and the Eibishter. And for that you need Pnimiyus HaTorah. Because Pnimiyus HaTorah brings out the hidden part of the neshama, the ave that the neshama has, the HaKadosh Baruch Hu. So l'chaim, the Eibush is a help. We should take a zeicha to take it, learn Pnimiyus HaTorah, take proper achotos tevis, to learn it properly, internalize it. L'chaim, l'chaim. It's known the Shitta of the Rambam about Mashiach, that when Mashiach will come, it's going to be Eilam Ki Minhagi Nei. The world is going to be the way the world is behaving, so to say. The way the world is going on in the way of Teva, that's how it's going to be when Mashiach will come. Al Yala, Al Daitches, don't think that, how do you know who's Mashiach? That he's going to make Isis Umayfsi, going to make miracles, going to change the way the world is running. Nein. Yamin Melech Miz David. He's going to be Isaac and Hegeb Terek and David Aviv. The world is going to go on. What's going to change in the world when Mashiach will come, according to the Rambam? What's going to change in the world? What's going to be different in the world when Mashiach will come than it's now? If the Eilam Ki Minhagi Nei, if the world is continuing the way it is according to Teva, what's going to change? What's going to change is that the world will know Hashem. Even especially Yasigu Das Beirom, they're going to understand the Das of the Beirei. They're going to be Asik in Das Hashem. And that's what's going to be. It's going to be the world is going to recognize HaKadosh Baruch Hu. The world is going to recognize Hashem, and every person, every Nivir will have Das as Hashem. We'll have knowledge in Hashem. Knowledge about the Eibishter. This is what's going to change in the world is the attitude. Everyone is going to recognize HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Everyone's going to have Das and HaKadosh Baruch Hu to the extent a person could have. And that's what's going to change. And therefore, in that Be'esi Azman, there'll be no milchome, there'll be no war, there'll be no jealousy, there'll be no competition, there'll be sholem, because everyone's going to recognize the Eibishter. The only reason that now there's war and there's competition and all these fights is because people don't recognize the Eibishter. Mashiach will come, everyone's going to recognize the Eibishter. In other words, what's going to change is the attitude of people. The attitude of the Nivrod, that all the Nivroim, all the creations will recognize the Eibishter. What's the Achon? We know that the Gilui Teres Achsidus, the revelation of Teres Achsidus, or Das es Hashem, this paves the way for the coming of Mashiach. That through Teres Achsidus, we all could be Asik, or Das Hashem, we could have a certain Yediyah towards the Eibishter. In other words, our Das has to change. Our mind, the way our mind works, needs to change. And that changes through Chassidus. We learn Chassidus, we change our mind, we change the way we look at things. We change the way we look at the world. We be the same person. Everything's the same. But it's changed. He looks on it different. He sees the Yad Hashem, he sees the Nisim, he recognizes the Eibishter. The Alter Rebbe established Chassidus Chabad. One of the inyonim in Chassidus Chabad is that you have to recognize it. You have to realize it. You have to understand it. It needs to be you. You realize it. It's in your das. It's in your chokhmah, bina, das. You have a das in it. You have a das as Hashem. This is the achona for Bias HaMashiach, that the whole world will be mole das as Hashem. L'chaim, l'chaim. Chaim. There is a Gemara. Gemara says on the Pasuk, Ki Tevim Dedecha Miyoyin. Gemara says Dedecha is the Yidden, the ones who love Hashem. Tevim Dedecha, the words of Dedecha. The words of Dedecha is the words of the Rabbanon. The Rabbanon, the Yidden, the Rabbanon, we know there's the Iraisa, and there's the Rabbanon. The Iraisa is the Torah itself, and then there is the Rabbanon. The Rabbanon is Dedecha. Divrei Dedecha. Says the Gemara, Arevim olai divrei soifrim yoisr miyenu shel Torah. It's Arevim on me. It's Geschmack on me. Divrei soifrim, the words of the Rabbanon, more than yenu shel Torah, more than the wine of Torah. There's something in the Rabbanon, in the Takonis of the Rabbanon, that have that ability to open up in every single Yid the Ava that they have to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, to open up that connection they have with the Eibishter. That's Kitoivim Dedecha Miyoyin. There's Yenu Shel Torah, there's the Eraisa, And then what the Rabbanon were Mesak and the Takonis, the Rabbanon, wherever the Rabbanon were established, that had that special kayach to open up the connection he has with the Eibishter. The Arevim Olai Divrei Sefer. We started learning today the Tanya Michodesh. We started learning again Tanya. The Rebbe writes in the Sharblat of Tanya that is Melukit Mipis Forim Umipis Seifrim. He gathered the Alter Rebbe with a tremendous honor, tremendous hanivus. Alter Rebbe composed the Tanya in a way that Ki'ilu is there's no him, there's no his chidush, there's no his accomplishment. He's just a malaket. He's gathering, Mipis Forim, Mipis Seifrim. He's not saying his own chidush. He's gathering. Ad kedei kach that the Alter Rebbe didn't put, when he published the Tanya, the Alter Rebbe didn't put his name. He didn't put his name. If you look on the Tanya, you don't have the Alter Rebbe's name. That's his malaket. It's not even the mechaber. It's the malaket the Tanya. He's gathering the words of the Tanya. And where is he gathering it from? Mipis Sforim or Mipis Seifrim. It's from the Sforim and from the Seifrim. Sforim is Mekubal, the Shalom, the Maral. And the Seifrim is the Baal Shem Tov and the Mezritch Magid. That's the Seifrim. It's the Yifan Arevim Olai Divrei Seifrim. That the Rabbeim, Rabbi Seinu, Nisienu, is Arevim Olai. That's the words of the Rabbeim, the words of Chassidus. It's able to get into the neshama of the Yid and open up the Yid. Open up his neshama, open up the Avon. That's the special kayach that there is in the Divrei Seifrim of the Rabbeim. The special kayach in the Shem and the Pnimi Sater. Now it's also known that the Rebbe Rashab said that the Iker, Yofutsu Meinesecho Chutzo, the main of the Yofutsu Meinesecho Chutzo started after Yitis Kislev. What's Yofutsu? Everyone knows Yofutsu Meinesecho Chutzo, that the Baal Shem Tov went to Heichel HaMashiach. Baal Shem Tov met Mashiach Tzidkeinu. And he asked Mashiach, Eimosai Kosi Mag. When are you coming? Mashiach has to come already. When are you coming? So the Mashiach answered to the Baal Shem Tov, when your well springs will spread to the outside. That's how I'm coming. The Rebbe explains many times in length. We know Torah that Mayim makes a tahara. Mayim makes purity, right? You know, you go to the mikveh. Mayim makes tahara. But the way Mayim makes tahara, there's two levels. There's a regular mikveh, a way of rainwater. Then there is a mayon of Mayim Chayim. It's a wellspring of live water. The mayon is the source who comes out live water. The Mayon Mayim Chayim has an unbelievable more of a koyach to make tahara. You have a certain tmeim, certain people that are tomei, that a regular mikveh won't work. They need the living water of a Mayim. You need the living water. The same thing by Pora Aduma. You make the ashes of the Pora Aduma. You need Mayim Chayim. It's not enough that there's water coming to the chut, there's water of Pnimiyus HaTorah. You need the mayon, you need the wellspring itself, the moker, the Pnimiyus of the Pnimiyus HaTorah, the rosin, the Reise, to come out to the chut. The regular Pnimiyus HaTorah is not enough. You need rosin, the secrets of the secrets, the Pnimiyus of the Pnimiyus. That should come out in the chut. When your mayon will come out to the chutzah, the mayon itself, the source of the mayon itself, will come out to the chutzah. And when did that occur? That occurred after Yitis Kislev. Why did it occur after Yitis Kislev? The Rebbe used to quote very often the word, the Piskin, the word of the Rebbe Rashab, as Ba'em Leiksich. Ba'em Leiksich. You know Ba'em Leiksich mean? How do you say Leiksich in English? His mind understands so, even though he doesn't have a source. His mind accepts that that's how it is. As the Ikir, Yavutza, Manisecho, Chutza, the main Yavutza, Manisecho, Chutza started after Yutus Kislev. What's the husband he gave? The famous Maimon Hazal. Ma'azayis Hazeh, Kishekechin Eisei, Meitzi Shamne. I'm an olive. You want the olive to give out its oil. How does the olive get its oil? You got to crush it. And only when you crush it, the oil comes out. The Rebbe sat in prison 53 days. It was a big Yisurim, a big pain for the Alter Rebbe. That was the Keichin Esei. It was Meitzi Shamne. This brought out the Shem and the Pnimi Satayr. This brought out the Rosin, the Reis, the Mainisecho. And that made it possible that Pnimi Satayr could come out in a way that it could reach every single Yid, no matter his level, no matter where he is, it could reach every single Yid. The Mayon itself, the Shemin of Pnimi Satayr, could reach every single Yid. No matter how far he is, no matter his level, to him could reach the Shemin of Pnimi Satayr. Remember, it was in Aleph Nissen, Tovshim and Beis. It was Shnash Hashmeinu. The Rebbe turned 80. It was some 70 Farbrengen Aleph Nissen. The Farbrengen was a long Farbrengen. I think it went till 3 in the morning. By the end of the Farbrengen, the Rebbe made a surprise that he's going to give out Tanya. He himself is going to distribute Tanya to every single person. But this was a special Tanya. The Tanya had in the back, had a copy of the Sharblat, the front page of every place where the Tanya was printed. The thick Tanya, where every place in Tanya is printed. One of the points was to show how the Mayan of Chassidus, the Mayan, the Mokar of Chassidus, Tanya is printed in every single place. It's not only you're bringing Chassidus everywhere. You're bringing the Mayan, you're bringing the source, you're printing the Tanya in every single place. The Rebbe could have made, to go to New York, print thousands and thousands of Tanyas, and distribute the Tanyas to the whole world. It's easier, it's cheaper, no. You print the Tanya, and you put on the Sharblat, you put on the page of Tanya where the Tanya is printed. You're bringing the Mayan in Chutz. Here became a mocker, became a source, became a wellspring of Pnimi Satayr. And this was so precious by the Rebbe that he printed a Tanya with they had in the Tanya the copy of all the Sharblats of everywhere where Tanya was printed. And the Rebbe sat for a couple of hours giving out himself, B'yodi Akdesh, giving out the Tanya. I remember, I was then a kid, and it was the beginning was a terrible, very, very pushy. And I was almost not too far. It was so pushy. To my mazel, the Rebbe got very upset. He's going to stop giving out the Tanyas. He's not going to stop pushing. I'm a little kid. I don't want to be caused the Rebbe. I must never chaz v'sholem. I just backed myself out. I don't want to push. We had the bus going back to Montreal. So this is already 4 or 5 in the morning. And I said, you know what? I tried to get a Tanya. Okay. If I made the Rebbe easier, it's fine for me. I'm on the bus sitting next to one of my chaverim. My chaver tells me, no, you can't go back to Montreal to get me back to Tanya. You got to go get the Tanya. So I went back. The time I came was so late, but the Rebbe was giving out the Tanya. He was very supporting. With one arm, he was supporting the other hand. That's how I got my Tanya. And I remember 2 years later, I think it was Tovshim and Daled, the Rebbe made a new edition. Because since then, it was 2 years, they printed more Tanyas. They printed again with the Shabbat of the other place it was printed. This time, instead of the Rebbe giving out himself, he made the Chavri Akelo to be Shluchim Digva at the time. But the point is that the Mayones, Achsidis, Kom, Chutz, the Mayon itself, the wellspring itself, the shaman of Torah, this has the Keyach to come everywhere. But then, we got to taste it. We got to sniff it. We got to take it in. It has, the Keyach is there. The Keyach is there. But then we got to take it in. You know, you could explain maybe the difference of the Yayin and Shemen. You have Yayin. Yayin is Geschmack. You see, it tastes good, it affects you. It's Yayin Mesameach, it makes you happy. And sometimes you learn Chassidus, it's Geschmack, and you really get it, and you feel how it's affecting you. It's a gate. Then sometimes you sit down with the Sefer Chassidus, you're not really getting it. You're not really understanding it. And it's hard to have a cheshik. But you gotta know that that's the Shem and the previous Torah. That's the Maya. It will be metired. It will make the connection. Because the Keyach is there. So even though you don't have the Yaya necessarily, there's not as Geschmack. How you say Geschmack in English? Pleasure, I know it's a common lotion by Bocherim. You want to measure a successful Farbrengen, you say, was it like a Geschmack of Farbrengen? Was it Geschmack? By a Shir, was it like a Geschmack of Shir? Was it like a Geschmack of Maimer? A lot of things are measured by Geschmack, and if it's not so Geschmack, this is a problem. But not always are we meriting to feel the Geschmack. Not always. Geschmack is good, it's not always there. But no matter what, when you sit down and you learn the Divrei Seifrim, the words of the Rabbein, that's the Shem, the Pnimiyas HaTorah, there is that Keyach over there to get into you and get into any Yid and open up the Neshama. L'chaim, l'chaim. Nicht mehr. Erste Mal für die Schule. Erstmal weiß ich.
You know that it is Kislev. It comes in very close to Chanukah. The Rebbe speak a lot, the connection. It's Kislev and Chanukah. As a matter of fact, you see in a lot of the volumes of the Kutesichas that they have in the Hisofis, in the editions, in back of the Sichas, they have letters of the Rebbe divided according to the times of the year, according to the Parshiyas. So they have a section for Yutis Kislev, there's a section for Chanukah, and there's a section for Yutis Kislev and Chanukah together, because Yutis Kislev and Chanukah is very connected. One of the connections, see, by Chanukah also, it's connected with Shem, oil. And that's happened with the oil. This is the Yevonim. The Yevonim, they came into the Eichel, the time of the Eichel. It says, Timu Kol Hashmonim Shebeheichel. They came into the Heichel and they unpured all the oil that was in the Heichel. In other words, there was the Yevonim, a special union, besides that they were makriv on the Mizbeach, Rabbi Dezorah, and the other things they did, there was a special union in them that they were metame the oil, the metame the Shem. Why the metame the Shem? When that what did the Yevonim want? The Milchom of the Yevonim and the Yidden was a Ruchnis Diki Milchom. It wasn't a Gashmis.
Look at this. Yeah.
It was a Ruchnis Diki Milchom. A Ruchnis Diki Milchom. It's known the Dik Chassidus. You say in the Al Anisim, you say La Shkichom Terosecha Ula Aviro Mechuki Ritzinecha. They wanted to make the Yidden forget your Torah, and they wanted to take away the Yidden from the Chuki Ritzinecha. Yidua Chassidus is Medayik. They didn't want to make the Yidden stop learning Torah. Zom learning Torah. Should learn Torah. But lashkichom terosecho, to make to forget that it's Hashem's Torah. That we're learning Torah, this is the Eibish's Torah, it's not Stam HaChochma. So they were masking to learn Torah inside the Seichel HaTorah, the intellect of Torah. It's a very interesting intellect, very deep intellect. But not to learn Torah, that's terosecho. It's your Torah. It's the Eibish's Torah. They wanted to make the Yidden stop doing mitzvahs. What kind of mitzvahs? Yeah, you want to do mitzvahs because it makes sense and it's nice and it's pleasant, fine. But to do the mitzvahs because this is what the Eibishter wants, this they wanted to stop. They wanted the Yidden to join their culture. The big culture, the Greek culture at that time, was a very big culture. Big philosophy, the Greek philosophy. The Gashmis was stronger than the Ruchnius. And they wanted that the Jews, the Yidden, should join their culture. So they came to the Yidden and said, we're good friends with you. We're friends with you. Come join us. Continue Torah, continue mitzvahs, but take away that Kiddush. The Rebbe would say often about the Beis HaMikdash. You had the other Seder Yisrael, they came to the Beis HaMikdash, they destroyed the Beis HaMikdash. They burned the Beis HaMikdash. The Yevonim didn't destroy the Beis HaMikdash. They didn't burn the Beis HaMikdash. No, the Beis HaMikdash should stay. The Mizbeach should stay. But we'll teach you how to use it. And Rachmana Litzlan, there was many Yidden that joined, that they got caught into this trap, which are called the Misyavnim. They got joined into the Greek philosophy. In other words, the Yevonim realized they wanted to take away the Kedusha of the Yidden. Timu kol hashmonim sheveichu. They were metamid the shemen. That oil, that light of Kedusha, that's what they made Tomim. You want to keep everything else, fine. But the Shemen has to be Tomim. Nochmer, they didn't take away the oil. They didn't pour out the oil. They made the oil Tomim. They made the oil became Tomim. It says Tazay. Because Chassidus became, you say Lashon HaKodesh, it was nislapsha. It became clothed in. It became down in seichel, in intellect. It came down in seichel anushi, in human intellect, that you could learn and understand it. In other words, the emes, Chassidus is higher than seichel. It's Pnimius HaTorah is higher than seichel. Elomai, the Rabbeim Admesiris Nefesh, that Pnimius HaTorah should come down in seichel. It should come down in intellect. It should be able to be understood. Once it's able to be understood, then you have the danger that you're able to take it mitzad the seichel, mitzad the intellect. It's a beautiful intellect. It's deep intellect. It's exciting. It's a tremendous deep intellect. You could start taking the Chassidus of Pnimius HaTorah mitzad the seichel. it says like this. Sometimes you have people, they learn Chassidus, and they don't see it affecting them. They learn Chassidus, it doesn't affect them. Why it's not affecting them? So there's the Bavusta Teretz. You have three things that have an effect. Money makes crazy. You see he has money, he's not crazy yet. Doesn't have enough money. More money. Mashke makes drunk. He took mashke, is not drunk yet. He didn't have enough mashke. He'll take more, he'll get drunk. Chassidus macht edel. You don't see a Chassidus is pale yet. You need more Chassidus. That's the famous teretz. Learn more. But that is another word. Another word that when you're learning Chassidus, what are you learning for? You're learning for the seichel. It's not okay. Once you're learning Chassidus beside the seichel, beside the intellect of Chassidus. So you're ki'ilu distancing yourself from the godliness that's in the Chassidus. You're attaching yourself to the seichel. The famous Maimer Chazal, Eimer, Shmu Ezu Noe, Shmu Ezu Eino Noe. To the Gemara. Rei Yezenis Yevad Hein. Zoinoi says the Gemara, Zoinoi. He learns and he picks and chooses. He says, Zei Noe, the Zei Eino Noe. This is the Geschmack piece, and this is not Geschmack. What happens? He's not a Caliph for Torah. Yevad Hein. He loses Hein Shel Torah because he's showing that all it is his seichel. So Rachmanu Litzlan, even they have Chassidus, but once Chassidus is Slavish, it came down in seichel, in human intellect, in the regular seichel. So there's that danger that you're able to take the Chassidus beside the seichel of Chassidus. And that's the pshat. Timu kol hashmonim shebeichel. The time of the Shemin. What was the nest of Chanukah? They found Pach, Echod, Shemin, Toir, Chosum, Bechisom, Mishal Kein Godel. The Kein Godel, this is the Rebbe. This is the Divrei Sefer. This is the Rabbon. And that oil didn't get Tommy. We should strengthen our iskashas of the Rebbe. You do the Rebbe once and bring down Chassidus, the Pil Mamish, L'chaim. I want to say something. I don't know if it's Eis gehalten. I don't know if this is the Pshat. Farbrengen, nach ein bisschen L'chaim. Yesterday we made the Siyum and Sefer Tanya. We learned the last period of Tanya. That period, Alter Rebbe says, the famous hero to make a Chalukas HaShas. Every city, every minyan should finish the Shas. Then Alter Rebbe says, if I remember correctly, that every one of the loimdim, everyone that's learning the Peil Chelik and Shas, should finish himself once a week. The Tamnaya Api should be safer to heal. Was it the Tamnaya Api? That's Kapitel Kufyutes. Peter Kufyutes for heal. Why is it called Tamnaya Api? Because the Kufyutes is every letter you have 8 psukim. 8 psukim Aleph, 8 psukim Beis. Alter Rebbe says every one of the lemnim of the Shas should finish once a week the Tamnanya Api, the Peter Kufyutes. And the Rebbe, in one place the Rebbe writes, I don't see that people do that. And the other place the Rebbe writes that some people do that, including his father, Reb Leivik, Shabbos after Mincha would say Peter Kufyutes. What's the pshat? What's the senior? You say Chalukas HaShas. Then you say you're learning the Chalukas HaShas. Make sure you're saying the once a week Peter Kufyutes. I don't know the emes of pshat. I think like this. Now we say every day Kapitel Kufyutes. You say Peter Kufyutes. If you say every day, you gotta think a little what you're saying. What's Peter Kufyutes? What's David HaMelech saying? David HaMelech is saying, I Eibishter, Kukecho and Edisecho and Terisecho and Mipatecho, your Torah is so great, it's so sweet, it's so good, it's better than anything, and everything in the world comes through Torah. Is mafli the Eibishter's mitzvahs and the Eibishter's Torah. Again, in this signal, that signal, you're learning Shas. You're learning Torah. And anyone that takes part in Chalukas HaShas is like you learn the whole Shas. It's making a Chaluk. You gotta know, you have to hear the tirekeit of Torah. You have to feel the tirekeit of Torah. A Torah is a tire. There is a famous Gemara. Gemara says, Al ma chorva oretz. Why was that Yisrael destroyed? Al sheliberchu b'ateiro tchilo. They didn't make birchas ateiro. Das heißt that they learned Torah, but they didn't make birchas ateiro. What's the big deal? Says the Bach. And they didn't appreciate Torah. They didn't recognize the mile of Torah. They didn't recognize the specialty of Torah. Yeah, they learned it. You know, people learn different subjects, and they learn Torah also. There was a bocher here. He was from Sifte. Then he spent time in Cincinnati. When he was in Cincinnati, he spent time, sometimes he would go learn in the library, the library of Cincinnati. As he's learning, he's trying to look up Marim B'Kemis. He came this person to him who wasn't even wearing a yarmulke. He said, "Oh, what can I help you? You're looking for a ritva? You're looking for a rashba? Which tshuva?" The Reform Yid. He was all knowledgeable. He's learning Torah, Shas, Peskin. But it's missing the Beichu B'Ateiru Tchilu, the tirekeit of Torah. This is true in Torah, in Nigel in the Torah, in Pnimius HaTorah. Amedav the Herren, the tirekeit from Torah. The tirekeit from Torah. It comes you to Kislev, part of it is Kislev, with the head, the tirekeit from Pnimius HaTorah that was given to us. The shaila is, we have to show that we cherish it. The attire is that. We cherish it. It's speaking to us. It means something to us. You know, you say by learning Bichlal, you say you learn there has to be lein al menas lasses. Whatever you learn, you have to learn al menas lasses. What's going to come out the pen? You're learning Hilchos Shabbos. You're not just learning Hilchos Shabbos because it's a nice halacha to learn. You're learning Hilchos Shabbos how to keep Shabbos. So every time you sit down learning Hilchos Shabbos, you have to know Amanas Lasses. How is this making you keep Shabbos more careful, to keep Shabbos better? It has to be Limud Amanas Lasses. Torah, the Eibishter giving us Torah to tell us what to do, how to do. So Limud Amanas Lasses. L'chaim, l'chaim. Just like in learning Nigla the Torah, the Dovra Aposhut, it's clear. There has to be limud almanas lashes. You gotta learn with the intention to do. You learn the Sech of Shabbos. You're learning how to keep Shabbos. Yeah, you learn whatever you learn the Sech of Brachas. You're learning how to do Brachas. Limud almanas lashes. The whole Shiloh, if someone learns limud not is learning not in order to know what to do. He's not going to do what he's learning. Maybe it's better he shouldn't learn. Not so partial. You're learning what to do. The same thing in the learning of Pnimius Hater and learning of Chassidus. There needs to be limud almanas lashes. You're learning. It's not just a good idea. It's not just nice. You're learning, and you have to be able to take from it. What is it teaching you? What is it telling you what to do? What is it changing you in your life? You know, I don't have opportunity usually to speak. I don't know who's seeing it, where it's going to get to. But usually I have in my classroom a few bochrim, and we're learning. I don't have an opportunity to speak in a way that I don't know where it's going to get to. I still don't know what's going to get to. I want to say something. I want to say like this. We have to bring in Chassidus to our houses, to our families, to our children, to the bayis. You have to bring Chassidus into the houses. And I think one of the ways to bring Chassidus into the house is that the bayis have to see what is Chassidus changing Peil Mamash. What is it teaching you? What is it telling you in your day-to-day life? What does it make a difference? Today is a generation, the kids are growing up and they see everything, and everything is Peil Mamash. They see everything with their own eyes, they see what everything is, and they see it b'muchash. We gotta show the mishpocha what is Chassidus teach us, what is changing us, what is our life different. You say in your house, by the Shabbos table, or a supper, you say avoid Chassidus. What is the bechein? What is the outcome? What is it changing you? What is it telling you? They have to see how it changes you. They have to see how it's taking effect. And then you show them, you see, this is what Chassidus does. There's a story of Shmuel Munkis. Shmuel Munkis once, I don't know how athletic he was, but from this story you see he was pretty athletic. He jumped and turned himself over, and he was hanging in front of the wall, the fence in front of the Alter Rebbe, and he was hanging on his foot. Pretty athletic. They said, Shmuel, what are you doing? Well, you're hanging like that on your foot. Said, well, don't you understand? In the bakery, what hangs in a bakery? Hangs our bread, a cake. You go to a shoemaker, what hangs? Hangs a shoe. The Rebbe makes chsidim. It's the hang achos. The hang achos. You see what chsidis did? Chsidis made achos. They made up shmul mum. You gotta show them mishpoche. You gotta show what is chsidis telling you. What is chsidis teaching you? What is chsidis making a difference to you? It has to be pale mamish. I'll tell you like this. It was Tovshin and Aleph for Tovshin and Beis. And the Rebbe gave out the Kuntres Etzachai. He gave out Kuntres Etzachai in Beyode Agdesho, Noshim V'Tav. Then the Mugi Dikisicha, the week after, the Rebbe explained why did he give out the Kuntres Etzachai. The Rebbe says this. In its time, B'shaiti, in its time, when the Rebbe Rashab gave out the Kuntres Etzachai. Why did he give out the Kuntres Etzachai? You know, everyone knows. To me, even know there's 4 Kuntres the Rebbe Rashab published, right? Kuntres Etzachayim, Kuntres Mayon, Kuntres Atfila, Kuntres Aved, 4 Kuntres. What did he publish Kuntres Etzachayim? The Rebbe Rashab was miyaseh the yeshivas teim chitmim. And in yeshivas teim chitmim, there was a very stark seder nigla, and there was a stark seder chassidus. And the nigla was echt stark. It was so stark that there was a lot of bochim that were drawn to yeshivas teim chitmim in Lubavitch because of its limud hanigla. And they became an element of bochim yeshivas teim chitmim in Lubavitch that were in ganzen in Nigla. They didn't care about chassidus. They pushed in ganzen in Nigla. The Nigla in Lubavitch was right up to Lubavitch. What happened? You have an element of bochim that ganze verkocht in Nigla not in chassidus. It took down the koch of Pnimis HaTorah. You could be a Tomim, you could be a Lubavitch, you don't have to live in chassidus. You live in Nigla. The Rebbe Rashab read a Kuntres Etzachai and said, that's not okay. I made the yeshiva that there has to be a koch and live in Pnimis HaTorah. You want to be here, you have to koch in chassidus. You can't be here if you're not in koch in chassidus. And he made very strict rules. The Rebbe Rashab was very strict. Very, very strict rules that we wake up in the morning, you can only in chassidus. It doesn't make how early you wake up, 3, 4 o'clock in the morning, you only in chassidus. And at night, after you learn that 2 hours, I think, 2 hours, I think. See this? Then you could add a nigla. He made very strict. Ma Torah sagudosenu. I made tichet mimim. There has to be the koch limit achsidus. So the Rebbe said, I gave out the Kuntres Etzachayim to tell everyone that what chassidus want, or chassidus wants from a person, didn't change. It's applicable now, just like before. Das heißt, that from that Chassidus, and the Chassidus has to teach us in our day-to-day life. The middle is azay. Mitzad echad, in today's world, acheshech yichas ha'oretz v'arof l'umim. It's very dark. It's dark. It's cheshchas ha'golus. It's dark. We know, just like by a Lila, a night and a day, that towards the end of the night, before the Alis HaShachar, before the morning light comes up, is the darkest. Is the darkest. Then the chaos comes in the Eir Hayim. Before the Eir of Mashiach, is the Cheshach HaGolus, is the Eir Zeir Stark. And you need Pnimis HaTorah, you need Chassidus, the Zen Elokus, the Zen Getlichkeit, even in the Cheshach. You know, you say every morning, you Birchas HaShach, you say a bracha, Anese Lasech Vivina, Lahavche Beyem Veloil. The Eibishter gives a Sech Ve'aruster, Bina, to tell the difference. And what's the special bina that the Eibishter gave us sechvi. Who doesn't know the difference between day and night? Any person, any animal. The animal also know the difference of Laila and Yeh. The sechvi has a special being. You know, it says in Chassidus, it says this. When the day comes, it doesn't come all of a sudden, the sun comes up. First, is the Alis HaShachar, is the morning light. The morning light comes up more and more till Netzach Chama.
We'll figure out tonight. It's probably good for us.
Because it's lighter and lighter. When Alis HaShachar starts, the Ayelos HaShachar. When Amud HaShachar starts, it's a little light. A drop of light is coming in. A drop of light coming in. Let's be clear, the Laila. You know, if you ever up Shavuos in the morning, Amud HaShachar, you go to the mikveh, and it says in the calendar, it's already Alis HaShachar. And you look in the sky, it's Alis HaShachar. It's still night. But if you look carefully, you see a little light coming up. And the Eibishter gave the sechvi, the bina, right when the Eir Hayim starts coming, a bissel Eir Hayim, in the sechvi notices it, and it starts saying kukurek. The Chassidus is Nigala, the air of Mashiach in the world. It's the beginning, it's netzitzuz, it starts sparking. The Cheshach, Ichas Ha'oretz V'Arofel U'umim, through Chassidus, through Shem and Haftarah, we're able to see the Yad Hashem, L'chaim, L'chaim. Chaim. Can't lose focus. You can't lose focus. The Eibishter made the world in a way that the world is misnaig. The world behaves in the way of Teva. The world behaves in the way of nature. And everything seems to be covered up in this levush of Teva. The Teva, the nature of things, cover up under Lukus. The embassy is that everything is the Eibishter, and the Eibishter is everything. And there's nothing besides the Eibishter. And everything that's happening in the world is Ashgacha Protis. Ashgacha Protis is the pshat that every little prat is taken care of by the Eibishter himself. Every little detail that a person goes through, every single little detail. What's the moshel? What's the example that Abayim give? You have a leaf. You know, you have the fall. The fall is a lot of leaves. You have a leaf turning. That leaf that's turning, why is that leaf turning? That's Ashgacha Protis. You would think it's the fall, it's windy, there's a lot of leaves fell off the tree. The wind is blowing and the leaves are turning. Every single leaf that's turning, which way, when it's turning, is Ashgacha Protis. There's no such a thing happening because it's happening, that's the Teva. Everything is happening from the Eibishter. But the Teva of the world covers over on it. It seems like, why did it happen? That's the Teva. The embassy is that the world is realizing now, I think, is a Yad Hashem. I remember not from 45 years ago. I remember when Corona started. All of a sudden, everyone I was speaking to, I don't mean Dafke, Frume people, anyone, there's a Yad Hashem. All of a sudden, if a little virus came, it's driving the whole world crazy. There's a Yad Hashem, there's an Eibishter. Everyone was realizing there's a Yad Hashem that's taking care of it, that's making it happen. For whatever reason it is that we don't know. But everything is happening from the Eibishter. And that's Be'em is the only way to go through life. A person goes through life, he goes through Elam Hazeh, he goes through different Yonim. Everyone is there in Yonim. If a person, Chaz v'Sholem, doesn't realize it's Yad Hashem, you can't go through it. You have to realize that Sa'al Tzaloku, Sa'al the Eibishter. The Eibishter is taking care of you and is looking after you. And every single detail that you're going through, it does Hazeh, B'chochmose, Yisborech, Hazeh, feel the Eibishter. But it's Ashgacha Protis. Every single detail is Ashgacha Protis. Nothing is happening because that's what's happening. This does us. And this is something I don't think a person can realize without really learning Chassidus. That every single prat and every single thing that's happening to him, this is Yad Hashem. Nothing is happening on its own. That every single prat, this is Dafka learning Chassidus. You know, I remember by the Rebbe used to quote very often by the Farbrengen. The Baal Shem Tov said, "Jeder Zach was Said zet oder hört, vernehmen Ayron Avedus Hashem." In English, it means everything he sees or hears, he has to take a lesson of Avedus Hashem. The Rebbe used to say it always. Is it literally everything a person sees or hears has to take it on Avedus Hashem? Is it a little overdoing it? If it's Hashgocha Protis, what's Hashgocha Protis? You saw this or you heard it. You heard. Why did you hear it? It's not stam. You heard it because you were standing there and you heard it. Or you were there and you saw it. If you saw it or you heard it, and the pshat is that's Hashgocha Protis. If it's Hashgocha Protis, it's teaching you something. Jeder Inyan is Hashgocha Protis. Alles kommt from the Eberstein. This is something that a person engraves in himself through Limud Chassidus. L'chaim shit is Kislev. We have to mechazik ourselves and Limud Chassidus. That Talmidei Yeshiva. I'm going to tell you like this. Say Ani was daite. Ani was daite. I don't. American is in Zorn. Bochrim have a shaila. What to learn mechutz l'sdor. What do you learn mechutz l'sdor? You're going to finish Shas, you finish Peskim, you're going to finish all the Amsheichim, you finish the Kutisichis. Mechutz l'seder is the Chla'elam Yilmud Odom and Mokim Shel Libi Chofetz. That's what I think. Where is Libi Chofetz? We are our desires. But you learn every day in Seder HaYeshiva, you have 2.5 hours of Chassidus. There are an hour of Chassidus in the morning, an hour of Chassidus in the evening, and you have a half an hour of Tanya. About 25 minutes, almost half. You have 2.5 hours of Limud Chassidus. You make a achloti with this Kislev, that those 2.5 hours your portion is going to learn properly. You put yourself into it, and you see it's going to change your life. It's going to change your outlook on everything. It's going to make you a happier Yid, a happier Chosid. It's going to make you Avedus Hashem in ganz different. Learn Chassidus. Adaita the nafshe. What Chassidus is teaching you. What is it telling you? Now remember, I'll tell you something. Everyone knows the Sicha of Ches Nissen. Yeah? The famous Sicha of Ches Nissen, Tovshin and Aleph, right? Everyone knows the Sicha. Every line of that Sicha, you could Farbrengen a whole night. Every line is so much. I want to speak one line. The Rebbe said, I'm continuing to Farbrengen. Why am I continuing to Farbrengen? Because it's a new thought comes, a new svor. What's happening for my Farbrengen? There are those that learn it and remember it. They partially learn it, they masmidim. But what's happening from it? Nothing. Mashiach is not coming, and they're not really thinking about implementing what I'm telling them. Even the Rebbe should say that in Tov Shin Nun Aleph. That I'm speaking, and yes, you're remembering what I'm saying, but are you taking it seriously? Is it teaching you something? I say the Rebbe is very powerful. You learn Chassidus, it's not just to learn Chassidus. It's nur Chassidus in a way that the Maimer is teaching you, and telling you, and educating you, and elevating you. That's how you have to learn. You know, Talmidei Yeshiva don't know what they have. Talmidei Yeshiva don't know what they have. What do I mean? Take a person that's out there in the world and tell them, listen here, I'm giving you a year. You're not going to have to work for a living. You're not going to have to work to earn money. You're not going to have to pay your mortgage, your utility bills. You're not going to have to go shopping. All you got to do is sit and learn Torah. More than that, you don't have to care. You know what a person of Ilum Hazard would say? Wow! They would just run to it and grab it and sitting and learning. You know what? You Bocharim have no idea of the pressures of Ilum Hazard. Monetary pressures and other issues. Resisting yeshiva. You gotta cherish it. Ashreinu. Utilize it. It's silent with Achsidus, it's silent with Nigla. Shnei Eir Zalman. That's the name of the Alter Rebbe. Shnei Eir. Shnei Eir is the Eir of Nigla and the Eir of Chassidus. I'll tell you something. Always caught me by the Rebbe. Now, Nigla and Chassidus went together. I was in yeshiva. I had my Rosh Yeshiva. So all their whole union was Nigla. And I had the Mashpim, that their union was Chassidus. And when I was growing up, there was no Sholem yet. You have now the Sholem between the Mashpim and Yeshivas. When I was growing up, Baruch Hashem wasn't existing. So there's the Yeshivas, there was a Mashpim, and I go to Hosugya. And there was like two elements. We came to the Rebbe's of Farbrengen. Nigla and Chassidus. It's not two things. The same Farbrengen that we got in Nigla speaks of the Chassidus. It's Torah Achas. They came together. It could be that's why they became Shalom now between Yeshivas and Mashpim. Could be. I'm saying now the Chafshim. Because the Rebbe was Ma'achid, the Nigla and Chassidus, it became more still. Akulponim, Shnei Eir. This Kislev, you make Halukas Hashaz, so we met Nigla, Mechazik, we met Chassidus. It goes together. L'chaim, Tmimim, needs this side. Use out the time, take in, because you know there's nothing like Girsa the Yankees. There's nothing like what you learn in the young age, you take it in. Chaim, is not alle junge Chassidim. I once heard, when I pinne Korf, sagen gesund zum Stark, they will schicken für Schleimer. There was a vacation Broche, once went by a Chossid, it was a very older Chossid. The Rebbe, that Farbrengen, the Rebbe sich gekocht, wegen Tziire Agudas Chabad. What does Tziire Agudas Chabad mean? Tziire, young energy. Tziire Agudas Chabad. See, even though he was an older chassid, he said to the Rebbe, I'm a young chassid. I'm a younger chassid. The Rebbe said, the Rebbe gets up in the court. Do anaya achrose. Wir sind alle junge Chassidim. A chassid steht auf, fahrt dort. For all young Chassidim, a chassid gets up by daybreak. You have your opinion with Farbrengen, but jemand von Aufstieg früh. Aus seiner Brille. Junge Chassidim, the young energy, and we should put it in l'chaim. Now we will see them. Achos is katuv chator. Chatur chator? I don't know. Chatur opinion is Farbrengen. Which is chator? Er cannot chator. Chatur in the camp of Tanya. What's the break with you? Er hat sich gut geschaut, aber gedenkt hat nicht verlangt. One of the main things that the Rabbeim always demanded from us is the in of Ahavas Yisrael. And Ahavas Yisrael all the way. And it's known that the Rebbe came back from jail in Petersburg. He wrote a letter. The letter he writes, the Rebbe was concerned. The Rebbe was concerned. What was he concerned? Who caused that he should be arrested? The people, the tattletales of the Alter Rebbe that made it with Malchus, he wanted to do source, promised the Alter Rebbe. The Alter Rebbe was afraid that now that he was released, that the Chassidim are going to say, aha, we're going to say you, look, the Alter Rebbe went out. And the Alter Rebbe said, Meine Rach, Meishivchem, you come, don't fight on them. You acted them with the greatest Ahavas Yisrael, the greatest Stilkeit. The Kulai, Vulai, the Eberster will make a Maim Apenim Luponim, that they're also going to change towards you. But there is the Indian Ahavas Yisrael, believe who? Loving all the Yid beyond any limitation. Beyond any limitation whatsoever. Ahavas Yisrael. And that's the secret ingredient. The whole Indian of Chassidus is Ahavas Yisrael. Loving another Yid. Putting everything aside for another Yid. As the Rebbe says in Tanya, Perek Lamed Beis, how is it possible to have proper Ahavas Yisrael? It's Oisim Nafshem Iker, the Gufim Tefillah. If you realize that the main thing is your neshama, the main thing is your ruchnius, and mitzad the ruchnius, mitzad the neshama v'yid, all the yidden are really one thing. Rakemu acha shlema, all the yidden are one kemu. So one yid is not as steer as another yid. Adarabah, all the yidden together, they make one thing. It's one identity. Mela, you look on the second person, not he's someone different than me. The second person, this is really part of who I am, in essence. That's Ahavas Yisrael and Achdus Yisrael. And the Rebbe writes in the letter Kotenti, that there's two kinds of chesed. Someone does kindness, there's two kinds of kindness. There's chesed Yishmael and chesed Avram. Chesed Yishmael is, he wants to feel great. In order to make himself feel great, he's doing kindness. Why is he doing kindness? Not because he really wants to give the other person something, not because he really wants to help the other person. Because he wants to be greater. In order to make himself greater, is through helping other people. That's Chesed Yishmael. Then there is Chesed Avram. Avram Avinu said, "Vanechi offer ve'efer," and Avram Avinu felt himself like he's nothing. And Mela, what was the Chesed of Avram? He gave everything he had for other people. The secret ingredient of Chsidim is Ahavas Yisrael. Ahavas Yisrael. To love other Yidden. This is the way where the Keli for Chsidus. L'chaim, l'chaim. Five. The Rebbe wants order b'sholem nafshi. What is it? Order b'sholem nafshi. The Rebbe was arrested. Certain people mastered on him. That is, I made it with Malchus. And they wanted to trial him. Because I made it with Malchus. And they interrogated Alter Rebbe. Alter Rebbe answered everything. Reiv Chochmah, Bina. And the Chaira said, Alter Rebbe goes out of prison. You see, you got me. You see, I convinced them that I'm okay and I'm right and you're wrong. Alter Rebbe wanted Podem Sholem Nafsh. Alter Rebbe, if you look for a moment, I was thinking today, I was mentioning before, we learned Shir Tanya, the Agimus of the Alter Rebbe. The Alter Rebbe had no agenda of his own, of who he is. To publicize himself. He didn't want to publicize the Tanya. You look in the Askomis of Rabbi Zusha Anipol, Rabbi Yehuda Leib, Alter Rebbe wasn't interested in publishing the Tanya. He published the Tanya. He didn't put his name on it. And he said, you have the Alter Rebbe Shulchan Aruch. You know the Alter Rebbe Shulchan Aruch is mamish lahafli, yeah? The Alter Rebbe didn't put his Shulchan Aruch to be printed. He wasn't interested in publishing the Shulchan Aruch. We have what we have. We have people copied it. We have copies. And whatever is not copied, we don't have. You see, the Reva was exclusive the Alter Rebbe. The Alter Rebbe went out of the jail. The Alter Rebbe wanted Podem B'Sholem Nafshi. It should be B'Sholem. It should be any Machleike. It shouldn't be any Pfeifen. Leilistik Ale and Peh. Verkehrt. To behave towards people that were against the Alter Rebbe, even of Achnoe, meine Rachme Shuvchema. And this is to all the days of Chabad, until the Reinu Zeh, our day, the Rebbe always, don't argue, don't fight back, don't answer. No, we're not here to have machlokes. The Lubavitcher Chosid is no machlokes. Podo b'sholem nafshi. You could fight with me, I'm not going to fight with you. Podo b'sholem nafshi. You know that Yisroel is the parliament, the Knesset, and everyone is looking to have a seat. The Litvish Yidden, the Chassidish Yidden, everyone wants a seat. If you have a seat, you're able to get something for yourself. I don't want to speak all prot. Yeah, that's the Satire, Dagol Atire, Agudas Yisroel. The Rebbe didn't let Lubavitch get a seat in the parliament. If all Lubavitch Chassidim that Yisroel going to vote, maybe get 1 or 2 seats. I'm not sure how it works. No. Chabad is bilti miflakti. We're not any part of any party. We're not political. Chabad is podo b'sholem nafshi. It's for every Yid, all without any differences. So every single Yid. Podo b'sholem nafshi. Das ist mit dem Rebbe Chassidim, he said is Avos Yisrael. The Rebbe said in the Maimer Bosel Lagani Tovshin Yudalov. One of the things the Rebbe says in the Maimer, Al Tikra Vayikra El Vayakri. Vayikra V'shom B'Shem Hashem Keleilam. He called over there in the name of Hashem Keleilam. Al Tikra Vayikra El Vayakri. The Rebbe said, Eim du willst. So der eingehen der Vayikra. You want Vayikra? You want to be able to see this good. You want to be able to see this properly. You want to daven properly. Vayakri. You got to be pale of Hatzvesi. You got to have Avos Yisroel. Avos Yisroel could mean to a chavrusa, to a roommate, to a yid mishtoim, to a yid you never saw. Yeder yid. Podo b'sholem nafshi. Sometimes a person can think to himself, how could I have such Avos Yisroel? I'm not in that darge. Chosid the Rebbe, you have it. Chosid the Rebbe, you get unbelievable amount of keches to go the derech of the Rebbe. L'naim podem b'sholem nafshi. Do Neach Kornfeld. I'll tell you a story. The story of my uncle, who is your elder, Mendel Barsel. Say l'chaim, say l'chaim, say l'chaim. L'chaim. I had a few discussions with him. You know, you haven't met him? I had a few discussions with him. And one of the discussions, he told me like this. That Ashag's wife, she passed away, she was buried in another cemetery, not in Montefiore. And the Rebbe wanted very strong that they should move her back, move her body to the Montefiore. And the end it was not successful. The Rebbe tried different things. One of the things the Rebbe said to the secretary, speaks to Rabbi Mendel Barshel. He will speak to those people, I don't want to say names, they'll try to do something. He wasn't successful. And the Rebbe wanted to know what's happening. So Zayden said, if the Rebbe wants to know what's happening, I'll go in. I'll tell the Rebbe. So they told that to the Rebbe. So the Rebbe said, let him come in. He came into the Rebbe in the room, and the Rebbe told the Mendel, Zog mir auf Genoi, hit nicht auf mein Covid. Tell me exactly what they're saying. Don't care about my Covid. I want to hear exactly. The Rebbe is lotion. Zog mir Genoi, hit nicht auf mein Covid. And he said to me, when the Rebbe said that he wanted the earth to swallow him, you know what to say? But he had no choice. But it was an example of the Rebbe putting himself aside in a very uncomfortable situation because there was no him. Kotente. That was the derech of the Rebbe in many inyonim. Kotente. Kotente mikol sodim mikol emes. Kotente means what's the kavona? What's montman? That's what it's about. In Mela, there's no room for piru. There's no room for machlekes. Avis is so. Achtes is so. Alle Yidden zusammen. And we're getting closer to Mashiach. We're getting closer to the union. Nimis Ached. That's the Keli. Achtus Yisrael. And Avis Yisrael, Achdus Yisrael is something that could be practiced in every step. Not only Gom Mitzvah. You know, Rabbi Prustin, when you say that Yim, he said that Kadach Atzachus. But Be'emes is not Atzachus. The Yim, it says, have Avis Yisrael, even for a year you never saw. You never met. Sometimes, for the year that you never met, it's easier. I never met him. I'm not going to see him again. I love you. You love me. You shaked him. She could steal and get right. It nothing to do with him. Avis Yisrael, Achdus Yisrael. And the only way is, we don't make an agenda for ourselves. We want to reach our own. This is the kavon. Chaim, Chaim. Sidi Chabad. Sidi Chabad. I want to say Adover Aposh. Sidi Chabad is that you understand, you have a accord, you have a realization You recognize it with your das. What I mean, a lot of times you have certain things that you don't understand. It's not what you understand. It's not what you feel. You're doing it because that's what you're supposed to do. You don't really feel and understand and realize that that's how it really is. But this is how it is. Everyone around you is doing it. You also do it. Or you're carried away with inspiration around you. Chabad is Chochme Bina Das. Chochme Bina Das means that's your akor. That's your akor. This is what you realize. This is what you know. This is what you realize. It's bedaitcho. It's bedaitcho. It's your das. You realize. It's not someone told you. You hear that influence. You realize that. You realize that's how it is. You know? Everyone can tell you. You can tell yourself. You have certain things you do because you were told to do. Everyone around you is doing it. You have certain things that you do. You realize yourself that this is what you got to do. You realize yourself that that's the emes. You have a hakor. Chabad is saying that you got to be connected to the Eibishter in a way that's your chokhmah bin das. That's what you realize. That's what you recognize. You recognize it. You realize that that's the way to be. And that's what the truth. And that Elokus is the emes. And that's the emes. Was heißt that the Alter Rebbe brought down Chassidus in a way that we all could learn it and chew it over in our mind in a way that this becomes our realization. This becomes our understanding. Someone mentioned me before, speaking to Bocherim and also younger Bocherim, and you're expecting them to live in Chassidus, to talk in Chassidus. What does that mean? I don't know if I have the answer. But one thing is that no matter what age you are, you learn Chassidus properly. It gives you the realization as a dua Eibishter, and that the Eibishter is the emes, and the Welt is bottled to the Eibishter. And Kula can make loch shivi. And in these inyonim, you learn Chassidus, this is because by you in this ames that you realize it, that this is how it is. Not that someone told you, that someone convinced you, but this is what your realization is. What happens with that? You learn a maimer, you learn a sikha. The ultimate is that that's what you realize. You know, I used to teach Chassidus. We used to get very often. People used to tell me, Maimer is very repetitious. I'm learning this Maimer, and that Maimer said the same thing. And I don't know if I have the answer. The one thing is, it depends on how you're learning. If you're learning it because it's giving you information, you have information. If you're learning it, that the Maimer is convincing you and showing you the emes, that degree, that this is your realization, this is your recognition, this is your akora. This is taka your akora. This is what you realize already. It's so engraved in you. Hashem Echad. Pasuk says Hashem Echad, or you're saying Hashem Echad? Is that already your akor of Argosh? Das ist Shaykh afil zugebachen. I remember, I grew up in Montreal. I was a kid. I got a copy of the first page of Tanya to learn alphabet. I think I still have it. The first page of Tanya, up like 4 or 5 times, 6 times the size. We learn alphabets in Tanya. We're learning alphabets in Tinius HaTorah. Wherever darker you are, you take Tinius HaTorah according to your level, and this will become Dein Akor, Dein Akor, Dein Avon, Dein Argosh. This is you, what you realize. Not that someone else told you and you're convinced. This is Dein Akor. It's your Akor, it's your realization. It's Chabad. That's time. You have a lot of avenues of Chassidus. It's also be the Abel Shem. But Chabad is gotta be your accord of Argosh, it gotta be your realization. It gotta be your understanding. And that's forever. That doesn't make a difference how old you are. Whatever you're learning, you make sure that you talk understanding. Speaking to you, you're getting it. You didn't get it the first time, chazar over. Second time, third time, again, till it gets absorbed in you. That's also part of the show. What's part of the show? There's a nefesh alikis, as a nefesh Bahamas. The mulchome between the nefesh alikis and the nefesh Bahamas. Part of the shalom nefesh. And the nefesh Bahamas are also in the kingdom of nefesh. L'chaim. Kislev Farbrengen. Sometimes it's still Chaim. What happens is your ruchnistic chelev, your ruchnistic part is really going higher. What's happening with your gashmistic part? Your ruchnistic part go higher, and your gashmistic part didn't change, didn't affect it. The Rebbe gave a moshul. You have a train. And in the front, the train has a bunch of wagons. The front of the train has a motor. The motor goes and there's a steam and there's the water and the smoke. If you don't attach the motor of the front train to all the other wagons, it's a five, it's a grid, it's a machtarech, and the front is moving, and the other wagons are not going. Das heißt, it's the chelik ruchni, it's the elevated. But what's happening about our whole self, our whole being, all our keiches, all our taivas, and all our machshavah dibur ma'aseh, what's happening with that? You say l'chaim, Kislev is still l'chaim. Kislev is still l'chaim. But you say l'chaim in a way that not only the ruchnis is getting higher, You gotta make sure that you're pulling your goal, your whole self. You know, I'll tell you a story. The story happened in the basement of Yeshiva Seder Liyo. We were in one of the classrooms, and we were verbracht. Probably the last year that I had a kid to Farbrengen. Verbracht. In Mitte Farbrengen, we suchen an ihn. And everyone got involved in the got so involved. At the Emsa Farbrengen, the window was open. The Agana was reingesteckt the hand and took a jacket. Started running. Until the Bocher was gehaft. Was that tut sich? So they ran out. I don't know if they caught it or not. They make this end of my mind. But sie gewann auf Farbrengen. Ze rein in the Farbrengen. It's not just a nice Farbrengen. Ze rein in the Farbrengen. As the guy that you can't nemen a jacket and it took up some moment. Das heißt, as das Kislev is the Pshat, we get den ganzen rein. It's not just my Ruchnis, sag, ich sag den ganzen rein. As we will sich beiten, we should change yourself so. Have to become we gotta be changed over. What do I mean? I mean, in simple word, I mean like this. First will say, I am who I am. I'm the same. I'm going to sit by a Siddur Chassidus, and I sit by Farbrengen, but you should know, I am who I am. It's not changing. Chalil. I am who I am. The person makes such a achlot, what happens? It's alles dieselbe Sache. He's sitting by Farbrengen, he's sitting by Siddur Chassidus, but he was already machlit as linoga v'lipoga. Who is he? Who are you? Who are I am? My Mashpizge tell you I am. I know I am. Whatever you tell me, it's not going to change me. It's not going to affect me. I am. Who are you? Ayeko, wer bist du? I am. You're ready to change. You're ready to mach sich hiver. You got to be ready to become a different person, to become a different person. You got to be ready to become a different person. Chassidus is Mishal and the Mahus. Chassidus changes who you are. You shouldn't be the same. Chassidus changes, you shouldn't be the same. Yeah. You shouldn't be the same. Not the shot. You come into the Rebbe's yeshiva. I am who I am before I came in. I'm going through and look, it's interesting. It's very nice. I'm going to see different things. I'll watch different things. I'll learn different things. And then who I am. Doesn't work that way. Both of the soul of nafshi, as you got to change you. You got to raise and change. You're ready to become a different person. As a chassid, you always have to be ready to change who you are. You always have to be ready to give away everything. You got to be ready to give away your whole past. You say, whatever I did till now is wrong. You know what? It has to be different. Wie steht da im Jem? And the Rebbe Rashab came into the Tzemach Tzedek and givei vayerel vavaya. The Hashem shows himself to Avraham Avinu. Why doesn't he show himself to me? What is the answer? Yira Tzaddik, the 99 years old, decides he has to be mal himself. It's worth it that Hashem should show himself to him. What does that mean? 99 years old is Avraham Avinu. You heard of the Tutzach, Avraham Avinu? It's never cool. Avraham Avinu. I don't have to speak of Avraham Avinu. Okay, Avraham. Recover. Means Achesed. 99 years old. You gotta make a bris. You gotta change it. So I have an orla. I have an orla. I gotta change the orla. You ready to change the orla? You're gonna take it away. He's ready to change himself. He's ready to say that there is an orla master. 99 secure. And no matter, we got to be ready to, whenever we come to realization, in the Sikha, in the Farbrengen, you come to realization, I have an orla. There's something blocking, there's something not, and I want to change it. I'm ready to change it. You ready to change it? Then the Tzitz is kissed. Then the Tzitz is kissed. L'chaim, l'chaim. Zog l'chaim. Zog l'chaim. Ich zog l'chaim, du sagst zog l'chaim. Whatever you said, you say l'chaim. It's not okay, that's fine.
Habe gesagt, weil das sagen wir ein Video so. Habe gesagt, dass das sagen wir ein Video so. Ein Video so. Ein Video so.